Let's be honest, we've all heard of it. The political spectrum. It sounds almost as strange as it is to comprehend. Most of us have a general idea of how it goes. Socialist to the left, fascist to the right. It's as if we had many people and we just didn't know how to put them in order, so we decided to classify them and put them into boxes. However, it's quite obvious to most people that we aren't so easily put into such boxes. So how exactly does the political spectrum work? First of all, how do we acquire such political beliefs? Also known as political socialization, it's much more complex than we may actually think. A variety of factors can affect our political socialization. The first and most important factor is family. Though it is not always the case, it is very likely that the way that your family engages in political discourse will at least somewhat resemble the way you do. Other factors include your gender, race, economic standing, and residence. Although this list is by no means comprehensive, it also does show that we acquire our political beliefs in a multitude of ways, and the things that affect us most will be most likely to likewise affect our political socialization and identification. I think we're ready to start. To start, we should do what we do best. Blame another country, in this case, the French. However, this time we actually have a reason to. The entire idea of political right and left wings was actually due to the original seating of the French Parliament in 1789 to 1799. The aristocracy had to the right and the commoners to the left. Thus, the right generally stood for more royalistic ideas and the left stood for more social reform and civil liberties. Our society has changed much since that time. However, the spectrum still stands. In the United States, the Democratic Party is generally considered to the left, while the Republicans stand to the right. The left is generally considered to be more supportive of governmental control on corporations and social reform. The right tends to have the characteristics of focus on personal freedoms and more laissez-faire form of economics. There comes an immediate problem here. What happens if you don't want social reform, but you want governmental control on corporations? What if you do want social reform, but you don't want governmental control on corporations? Are those two categories mutually exclusive? On a political spectrum test, that stance would be viewed as moderate, but those two people have absolutely opposite views, and they can still get a moderate result. This has led many people to make a multiple axes political spectra. Many of these are rotations of one another, mostly emphasizing on the separation between social and economic views. On the two opposite ends of the social spectrum stands socialism, with high emphasis on power over social issues regulated by the people or community, and fascism, with high emphasis on power concentration and strict social rules and control. On the two opposite ends of the economic spectrum stands communism, originally meant to ensure equally shared economic wealth and mobility, as well as capitalism, with strong emphasis on competition for wealth and economic success. Yet even this holds multitudes of problems, however. One of the problems is the fact that there are only social and economic issues split on two axes, separating them into two perpendicular axes that seems to imply that they are mutually exclusive. For example, FDR's social reform no doubt affected the economic standpoint greatly. Issues like voting rights and civil liberties often have many roots in economic issues as well, such as income and economic status. To imply that they're completely different and separate, or even to place them on separate axes, seems to be a completely strange way of determining how you stand on political issues. After all, many important current issues fall into both of these categories. And furthermore, where does the environment stand in all of this? Does it deserve its own axis? There are many ways to look at it, and these issues are by no means labeled as either economic or social. The overlying and perhaps greatest issue with the axes and linear representation of the political spectrum lies in the whole point of its existence. The whole point of having a political spectrum in the first place is to enable us to engage in more meaningful conversation. Even though I might not agree to ideas such as fascism or socialism, that doesn't justify that they belong on extremist sides. Throughout history, we have put symbols and people, such as Hitler and Stalin, to represent certain ideas today about communism, socialism, fascism, capitalism, which are all misconstrued. We have come to believe that the lesser, the extreme, the outcasts are inherently evil. Though they may differ in their beliefs, many of them would agree with us on a multitude of ideas. Just because they may lie farther on the political spectrum should not imply that they have irrelevant discourse and cannot be reasoned with. None of them are inherently evil. In the political world, there ought not to be the idea of radical. That destroys the point of having discourse in the first place. If people are depicted as overly radical one way or another, that is discriminatory, and it defeats the entire purpose. All of us would like to believe that we exist in the center, moderate and unbiased in the political spectrum. Similar to the age-old belief that our society is the center of the world or the center of the universe, it's ultimately wrong to assume that there is even a center that is achievable. Trying to put people into boxes of radical and moderate is incorrect, and this model only deepens this crisis. Whether you believe in the political spectrum, the political graph, or anything else, in the end you have to realize that we as humans cannot be confined into numbers, data, and firm beliefs. It is our unique and individual thought that both characterizes our society and makes our society an interesting, dynamic, and conscious one. If we were all the same or classified in a certain way, our world would not only be less interesting, but also less diverse. It is this diversity that characterizes our social lives and in turn affects our political decisions. In that way, we can better appreciate our political diversity and our place within it.